friends, it's Beth from Past the Plants, and today I'm going to take you behind the blog in my kitchen and show you how to make an Instant Pot Quinoa PIlaf with a lot of yummy spring toppings to add to it. All right, so we have Instant Pot Quinoa PIlaf to make today, and basically what all that involves is seasoning up some quinoa and cooking in the Instant Pot. But there's some toppings involved. And because we have this lovely machine here that has a saute function on it, we can prep and beautify some of the toppings before we actually cook the quinoa. So I'm going to take you through, we're only going to use one pot to make this whole thing, but we're going to do it in a couple of different stages. So the first thing that we're going to do is put this on saute mode. And I have this behemoth, this is the 8 quart, but I also have a 6 quart. So whichever size you have works fine. Even a mini will be fine for this recipe. So I'm just putting it on saute. And the first thing that I'm gonna do is toast some pine nuts. You could also use almonds or cashews or anything kind of nutty with a crunch. That's the sound you're looking for to know that the saute mode function is working. Okay, so these I kept in the freezer, and I found out by accident, because I kept them for a really long time, the pine nuts keep for an infinite amount of time in the freezer. They don't seem to get freezer burned or anything. So I'm just gonna add them here. I'll grab a spatula. So the thing with this is that you can't walk away because there's natural oils in the pine nuts, or in any nut really, and they'll toast up really quickly and they can burn very quickly as well. So we're just going to kind of let our nose tell us when these are starting to toast a little bit, and then we'll stir them up. In the meantime, I'm going to chop up some asparagus. So this is what I'm going to put on top along with a few other toppings, but we'll saute the asparagus before we cook the quinoa right in the Instant Pot after the pine nuts. So one thing that's kind of a trick about asparagus, if you've never tried this before, is you kind of look for the natural bend, the natural snap, and that kind of tells you how much to cut off the ends, because these are going to be really fibrous and woody to eat. My husband's here. Hi, Michael. All right, so that'll kind of give me a guide. So I'll grab these. I've already washed these. And you just line up the tips like this and kind of know then how much to cut off on the end. And this is prime time asparagus season, which is super fun. Although there was a period of time where I was going to every grocery store I could, and the asparagus just wasn't looking super great. It was really, really thick, like those super thick stems. It's not my favorite. So I got some really nice ones at Fred Meyer yesterday, and I was very excited about that. Okay, so don't go anywhere, you asparagus. You've got to be cut. Okay, and we'll just pile these up. All right, and then these last ones. Ta-da! Okay, so then I'm just gonna toss this in here, clean it up a little bit. And I have, for the asparagus, I have a bowl of ice water standing by, because as soon as we saute the asparagus, once the pine nuts and the quinoa finish toasting, I'm gonna plunge it right in the ice, and that will keep it nice and bright and crisp and fresh before we actually top it on the pilaf. So you wanna do that. So I'm just gonna chop these up. Give this a stir real quick. Yep, I'm starting to smell it just a little bit. I love the smell of pine nuts. I need to do more with them. They're a little on the spendy side, which is why I'm glad I had some left in the freezer, and I'm using up what I've got instead of buying something else, because I'm pretty good at that. I don't know about you guys. Give me a shout out in the comments if you've ever been guilty of buying something instead of using what you've got, because I need to feel like I'm not alone. Okay, especially on those nights when you just don't want to cook anything. Ugh. Okay, so that was easy. I just chopped this up real quick. So we've got our asparagus prepped. All right. This is looking pretty good. I'm starting to see a little bit of toasty bits on it and no black, so that's good. You really don't need to take this too far because basically you just want them to be fragrant and kind of just toasted just a little bit. Okay, so this is done. This is real time. So, and they're not so oily that they're gonna stick to the bottom, which is nice. So you can just kind of, this is the 8 quart, so it's really big. Just gonna put it right back in the dish where it was. I wish this was Smell-O-Vision, Facebook Live Smell Edition. That would be weird. But I wish you could smell it because it smells good. Pine nutty goodness. Okay, Okay, so now, before we do the asparagus, there's one really important thing that we need to do. And that is to dry toast the quinoa. You're probably going to say, Beth, what is this idea of toasting the quinoa? What a pointless step. Or maybe you're like, oh wow, what is this? Maybe you're intrigued. But dry toasting the quinoa is super, super important. It adds so much to the flavor and the texture of the quinoa in the overall finished product. And I really highly recommend it. In fact, yesterday I did a TV segment on AM Northwest here in our area, and the host Helen was super surprised at how much better it tasted than the one that she had made not too long before, and which she had thought was pretty great. So, and if you check out the reviews on the post, you'll see how many people just think this is the bee's knees method. So we are going to dry toast some quinoa. I've been using so much quinoa recently that I didn't realize I was super low. So I pretty much have exactly 2 cups, which is what this recipe calls for. So I'm just gonna measure it out. And this is still on saute. So we're just going to dry toast the quinoa right in there. You don't wanna use any oil or water or anything, just dry it, just dry. Oh, so close. It's more like 1 7/8 cups or something. But I'm gonna go with it. Can't abandon our plans now. I'm just gonna have to adjust the water just down just a little bit. Now we are going to just do the same thing we did with the pine nuts and toast this quinoa. We don't want it to get super brown, but again, your nose will kind of tell you when something's starting to happen, and you'll even hear like a little bit of like snap, crackle, pop going on from the quinoa in a couple of minutes. So why is this important? Oh, and also, in the post that I have now about how to cook perfect quinoa, I talk about rinsing the quinoa because of some saponins, this like a bitter coating that's on the outside. But you'll find that most of the time when you're at the store and you're buying quinoa, the saponins have already been removed. You'll see a note that the quinoa's already been rinsed. So that's why I didn't rinse this before. And if you try to rinse it first and then put it in, it won't toast up the same. It will kind of stick to the bottom of the Instant Pot and it just won't give you the same texture. So what I would recommend is if you're unclear about whether or not the saponins have been removed, really look for that on the label. I know that the Costco package has it written very clearly on there that it's pre-rinsed and it's ready to go, it's clean, and that's what I use. So that's just something to be aware of, that you might find some conflicting information on there about, yes, you have to rinse quinoa, no, you don't. You just basically want to be informed about whether or not your quinoa is pre-rinsed or not. So that's why I dumped it in, no problem. And it's already been warmed up a little bit from the pine nuts, so it should toast up pretty quickly. I find that it takes about 3 to 5 minutes. So while that's happening, oh, I can already start to smell it happen a little bit. While that's happening, I am going to chop up some onion and garlic because that's going to go in with the quinoa when we get cooking. So we'll put that there. And I use a white onion for this. I just prefer them, but you can use yellow, sweet. I wouldn't use red because then that would kind of give it like a muddy color. Just take off the end here. Okay. Okay, so see, I kept the root end there. I'm gonna stir this real quick. Oh yeah, we're already getting somewhere. Okay. And you can double this in the 6 quart or the 8 quart. You can do 4 cups of quinoa. I wouldn't go, in the 6 quart, I wouldn't go too much above that because it'll get really heavy. But in the 8 quart, you could go up to 6 cups of quinoa for sure. So I'm just gonna go halfway through the root here and then take it down and just kind of go across. The little lines of the onion kind of show you where to cut. I love when I get to do that. Okay, so we're just kind of doing a fine dice here. See, I curl my fingers back. I need to sharpen this knife. It's really not doing super well for me. And then cut it across. You'll get varying arguments over whether or not you need to slice it across too, but because you've got the little sections like that, you really don't need to. That's my personal opinion. Do you have strong opinions about how to dice an onion? Because I would really like to know. You can have an onion off. That sounds really weird. Okay, let's see. Okay. I am only doing one for, a single batch of this, and I actually only use half of an onion for it. Stash that to the side. Okay. And oh, I wish you can hear it. Can you hear it? Oh, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's snap, crackle, popping. So that's super fun. So that was really fast, actually. Okay, so my nose is already telling me like, whoa, this is nice and toasty quinoa. So that's really cool. So now we can take this off again. I'm still leaving it on saute mode. And I'm just gonna dump it right here in a bowl. Oh, the steam from cooking, I'm gonna let it stick on there a little bit. That's okay. This could happen to you. It's just kind of like, almost like static cling almost, stuck to the side. But no big deal. It's all gonna get cooked in the end anyway, so. It can't hurt it to be up for a little bit to be in there. Okay, get out you quinoa seeds. Did you know that quinoa is a seed and not a grain? A lot of people think it's a grain, but it's a seed. And it, as far as I know, it was used in, I think it's really common in Peruvian food, but ancient people used to use it as like their superfood. All right, so got my onions chopped, I have my asparagus chopped. So now we've done the two dry things, the pine nuts and the quinoa. That was important to do first because now we're going to saute something wet and we don't want to have any liquid in there when we do the dry stuff. So now I just realized I can't use all this water, but I need a little water for the asparagus. So I'm gonna just push this in. Ooh, baby. Just gonna quickly steam saute this. Okay. Oh, better watch out for this knife so I don't chop myself up. That would be bad. A big cut on Facebook Live, that would not be my favorite. All right, so we only need to coat this for maybe 2 minutes and we'll just stir it up a couple of times. All we're doing is getting it kind of like bright and fresh green and crisp. We don't want it to be limp at all or overcooked, because I'm sorry guys, have you ever seen overcooked asparagus or broccoli? It's like this ugly green color. No, that does not scream fresh in spring. So we are going to just let this cook for just a minute and I will do my garlic action. Okay, so for garlic, just kind of take it, smush down, smoosh, smush. Kind of get the cloves to release. I'm just gonna do a couple cloves for this. It's not meant to be super garlicky, but it just gives it a little extra flavor. Hey, come on. There we go. This one's flying. Okay, push this to the side. Oh, this was like 2 cloves in one, or maybe 3. Stir this up. I can multitask. It's looking good, maybe another minute or 2. And don't forget to have your bowl of ice water ready to go. Okay, can you separate here? There we go. Well, this was kind of a funky looking one. So take your knife, put it on the top, smash it down. Okay. And be careful though. You can just lightly press if you want to. Peel that garlic. This is almost like 2 cloves in one. I think I might even just use this one, but I gotta trim it off a little bit. Ooh. Get over there. I'm making a mess. Do you guys make a mess in your kitchen? I'm not alone in that, am I? Okay. Usually I'm a little cleaner, but I forgot to get like a garbage bowl. Mince up a little garlic. By the time we're done with that, it will be time to get this asparagus out. Just have a feeling. Mincy, mincy, mincy. Oh, some peel is trying to get over there. You rogue peel, get away from here. You garlic peel stuck to my fingers. It's like the thing. Drives me crazy. Okay. I think that will be fine. So now I'm going to stir this one more time. La-di-dee. Just a little bit more. I have this doohickey, it's called a spider, and I use this all the time for if I'm cooking something in boiling water, like a vegetable, and then I want to use that boiling water for something else, and I don't want to pour it out and then use the boiling water and reboil the water. I will put it in and fish it out with this. Has to be obviously big enough, but these are nice small holes. So like if I'm cooking pasta and then I want to cook broccoli or something else in the same pasta water, I'll fish it out with this. So this is a nice thing to have. Let's see. Okay, so we're looking good. So look how beautifully bright fresh that is, and it's gonna stay that way because I'm dashing it in the ice water. Yay. Let's turn this off now. Oh no, because I'm gonna put the onion in there. It's all good. Okay. Ta-da. Get down in there. You gotta get iced. Okay. So now that's happening. Okay, so we've already used this 3 times, but we haven't had to wash it out or do anything. We can just keep going. So that's super cool. I should have been using this all along. But now we're gonna do some onion. Just diced it up nice and fine. And this garlic. Okay. And I always do a little bit of salt in this process because it helps bring out the liquid in the onion a little bit. And I sometimes, so I'm kind of on the fence about using oil in applications like this if I don't feel like it's going to add to the flavor at all. I tend to not. So you can use oil if you want to. I haven't found it makes a difference one way or the other. But also because I need to use up a tiny bit of this water, I'll splash a little bit in here. And that will kind of deglaze the bottom because it was starting to get a little bit brown on the bottom from everything that I was trying to cook in there. I think the residual oils, particularly from the pine nuts. So we're not going to cook these down until they're softened because the pressure from the Instant Pot when it's cooked with the quinoa will kind of disintegrate them anyway. So we don't really need to cook them a long time. We're basically just getting the flavor to come out a little bit. Okay. And while that is sauteing, I'm going to pop on over here. So now we have our water, and the trick to perfect quinoa in the Instant Pot specifically is a ratio of 1 cup of water to 1 part water to 1 part quinoa. So that, oh, and for 1 minute. So you're going to cook this at 1 minute on manual pressure, the high version of manual pressure, with 1 cup or 2 cups of water and 2 cups of quinoa. But because you've been watching this from the beginning and you know I didn't quite have 2 cups of quinoa, I don't have quite 2 cups of water. So it's perfect because I use that for a couple of other things. So now this is an optional thing, but I tend to like to use vegetable broth instead of water for the cooking liquid. It just gives it a little bit extra flavor. And I really love this better than bouillon vegetable base. It's wonderful. And you can just mix it in with the water directly. So we'll just grab a little teaspoon there and just kind of stir it up. You can use boxed vegetable broth or your own homemade, whatever you want to do. It's just going to give it like a little bit of extra seasoning and savory flavor without coloring it too much. Okay, so this is looking really good. Okay, so now I'm going to take this toasted quinoa that I already used, or that I already toasted, and you can really smell it. Like it's like it got this nice toasty smell, and it's still even warm. I'm going to toss this in here. The steam from toasting it kind of made it stick to this bowl too. So be prepared for that. But it's gonna get wet. It's going in a bath, so it's all good. Okay, so now you just want to stir this around really well and get the onions and the garlic kind of distributed with the quinoa. Okay. And you're kind of toasting the quinoa a little bit more too with this. Make sure nothing's sticking. Okay, and now, I'm gonna stir this up real quick, make sure it's dissolving. You can kind of do that in here too. Get on there. Okay. Should have done that earlier. It's all good. Okay. Okay, so now we'll add this in here. It's gonna steam up a lot. I'll turn the saute mode off. Okay. Now stir really well. Just make sure everything's got surrounded by the liquid. There aren't any pockets. Okay, and that's it. So now we just put the lid on. This is my favorite sound. I love it. And make sure the little vent or the vent knob is set to sealing because otherwise it won't come to pressure and that's not good. And then go to the 8-quart buttons, and the 6-quart buttons are different and it throws me every time. Okay, so on the 8-quart, you choose pressure cook, and then you want to set the timer. So I already know it seemed to remember that I only want it for 1 minute. So in a minute it will beep and let me know that it's accepted my request. Thank you, Instant Pot. We are on the same page. Cool. So now this will cook for 1 minute, but then you need to let it kind of hang out for about 15 minutes and let it do what's called a natural pressure release. Because if you release the pressure quickly as soon as the 1 minute is up, the texture can be affected and you might have some pockets where not all of the quinoa has cooked properly. So I highly advise you let it wait at least 15 minutes. If the pressure valve hasn't gone down by that point, you can go ahead and do a quick release then. But it will result in the most amazingly fluffy, light quinoa. Like, that's not mushy, it's not over soft, it has like a little, kind of like a little pop to it. So this is some that I've already cooked, and you can't even see hardly at all the onions and garlic in it. They just kind of disintegrate, and they don't add any texture. So if you've got people who like the flavor of onions, but they don't like to see the onions, this is the perfect dish for them. So now I'm going to just go ahead and top this with, you could eat this straight up. You could just season this with a little salt and pepper, some extra, and serve this as a side like you would rice. But I want to make it a little extra fancy and nice. So we're going to kind of make it nice. So I'll show you what I do. Okay, I'm going to clean off my board here. Pardon me for this total disaster, but I'll clean it up afterward. You don't have to watch that part. Okay, so a few different topping ideas. Obviously we have our toasted pine nuts, and some lemon is my favorite. And then I love having, oh no, we have a little asparagus that got away. I love having a creamy element. So, and since we're going with green anyway, I love having avocado. So this is gonna be the moment of truth because I don't know if this is good avocado or not. So you're gonna find out with me together. So one little way to know, I'm nervous. Yep, so it's got nice green in here. So let's open it up and find out. Ooh. Carefully. Are you ready? Ah, yes, okay, good. So it's perfect. I'm gonna leave this. I only need half, not even. Okay, so be careful, but this is how I cut an avocado. Slice right inside like this. Make the little cross hatches. Ta-da. Okay, so we got that ready to go. And then we've got our asparagus. So I'll just take out a little. If you were making this as for like a big party and you wanted to make it family style, you could just plate this all up in a nice big bowl, but I'm just putting individual portions together. This will be my lunch because you get so much protein already from the quinoa, and then you've got these beautiful vegetables, and you've got the delicious avocado. And then the last thing is some herbs. So you can use parsley, you could use, I guess you could even use like cilantro, but I really love either mint or dill or both. And I think I'm gonna go with dill today. I'm in a dilly kind of mood. I don't really feel like mixing it up though. So, just gonna dilly with the dillio. Okay, so I'm just gonna pick a few pieces off. Okay, and chop it up. Don't need to go fancy. Okay, it doesn't need to be any particular size really. Okay, and then I'm going to get a little wedge of lemon. Oh, this is a really nice lemon. It's got a seed in it. Have the nerve. This lemon having seeds. Don't want seeds. Okay. Circle of life. It's got to propagate somehow. It's got to make more of itself. Okay, so I think I have everything. So I've got my asparagus. Now I'm going to squeeze some avocado in here. And I don't need it to come out all fancy. I kind of want it to be mushed up. Okay, and then pine nuts. And then I'm gonna take this lemon, squeeze it all over the top. Give it that nice bright freshness. You can do as much or as little as you want. It's your bowl, you do what you want. Some lemon, or dill, excuse me. Did the lemon. And then got a jeans wipe. And then just a tiny, I'm going rogue here, hoping I can eyeball this little pinch without having to actually use my fingers to pinch it. Guys, it's lunch, it's dinner, it's springy, it's delicious. You made it all in your Instant Pot. You did multiple steps in it without having to rinse out the Instant Pot vessel at all. And you can do this. I mean, this is only gonna take another 20 minutes or so to be done. This is a really quick weeknight meal. This is great. So I'm gonna go eat this because it looks delicious. By the way, you can eat it warm, cold, room temperature, any which way you want. And I'm gonna be set for the day, or for the afternoon at least. So if you've got any questions, if you have any feedback, I would love to see it in the comments so that I can answer your questions and tell you how awesome you are for tuning in. I'm going to keep trying to do this. I think Wednesdays at noon is a pretty good fit for showing up. So keep an eye out on the page to know if I'm going to be coming back and doing another behind the blog segment for you. If you have any requests or if you have any ideas about what I could do, I would love to hear from you because this is kind of a new thing and I'm excited about it. So look for this recipe in full to be on Past the Plants within a few days. And you'll definitely see an updated version of the Instant Pot Quinoa post and a video as well. So guys, you're awesome. Thanks for being here and I will see you next time. Bye.